And we're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back again, my friend. I am Salim Burgess, and this is my lovely little sister, Abigail Burgess. How you doing today, boo boo?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be with you again, rubbing
of course,
shoulders
rubbing shoulder
again.
to shoulder.
Right. Once again, it's good to be with you once again, my friend. And as we always say, and we always do, this conversation is brought to us today by the fine folks over at One Step at a Time Consulting.
Yes.
All right. So today, what are we going to talk about, boo boo?
I think today we are going to talk about belongingness.
Belongingness is one of my favorite topics.
It's the best topic. That's why we start with it, right?
That's right.
But before we jump into belongingness, we have to set the stage for this space.
That's right. We setting the stage.
Yes, we want everybody to be comfortable. We want everybody to respect each other. We want this to be a safe space. So we're going to introduce you guys to what we call the terms of engagement.
Right.
You'll hear these probably in every video that we do from here on out. If you've ever been in one of the classes, you hear it every single time we lay something out. And it's just to remind ourselves to be conscious of those around us and to take care of those around us as well as ourselves.
That's right. I like the way you put that. It is basically some rules of the road, right? Our terms of engagement, just like Avi said, are rules of the road. Things that we get out before we start our wonderful conversation, things we get out the way, acknowledgments that we get out the way so that everybody's on the same page and everybody has the same rules and respect to govern the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
So we're going to supply you with our terms of engagement, which are our rules of the road, and they start as follows. We are each the expert of our own experience. What does that mean to you, boo? What you think when you hear that?
When you say that, it means that nobody can tell you how you've experienced life thus far.
That's right.
Or how you're gonna experience life. Only you know what that's gonna feel like for you. So as you guys interact with us in the comments and interact in the chat, just remember that maybe somebody has a different viewpoint of something that we're talking about, and it's only because they're an expert just like you're an expert. So experts in this kind of field, you just share your information. You don't get mad at each other, you don't call each other out, you just listen, learn. Maybe something that they say will help influence how you feel later on.
That's a great point. As an expert of your own experience, you're the only person that lived through your experience,
exactly.
Right? You were there firsthand and know exactly what took place. So you are the expert. You should have confidence in being an expert in your experiences. So when you speak as if you're an expert.
Absolutely.
All right? So what's our next one?
The next one is that we commit to stay mentally and physically present.
Oh yeah.
Now in this particular situation, I think we're only gonna ask you to stay mentally present.
Well,
you guys are all over the place. Please drop in the chat where you're watching us from. We'd love to find out where you are.
That's right.
But just tell them a little bit about what it means to try your best to stay mentally and physically present.
I like how you initially went to the physically because we were operating in a virtual space, right? But y'all sitting somewhere in front of something.
Watching.
Right? And you're being present there. So we can still be physically present in a virtual space. You guys see me, right? But being mentally and physically present is just basically acknowledgement that we're asking you to be here with us, right? If we're having this conversation, if we're having this communication, we need you to come and communicate with us. Hear what we're saying, but you are an active participant in this interactive forum. So just like Avi said, tell us where you're located at. Tell us where your city's at and represent your location.
Absolutely. What's our next one?
Next, our next term of engagement is simply that we're following good faith confidentiality.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
That means that what we say here in this conversation and in any other conversation that you see from us stays in this conversation. It's like the old adage, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
Think of this as Vegas. What happens in Vegas is going to stay in Vegas. Nobody is going to take your experience and share it out. We're not going to take your experiences and share them out. This is a safe container for you to share without the fear of any sort of repercussion or anything that might make you feel uneasy about sharing.
And that's very important in a conversation. In
Yes.
this conversation, as we talked about before, there will be some times in which this conversation gets heavy. There will be some times in which this conversation gets dark. It gets to be dealing with some issues and some circumstances that might cause some pain.
Yeah.
So in that, we want you to feel safe. We want you to feel secure. We want you to feel that your expert opinion is not only valued, not only being heard, but protected
Yes.
in this place, right?
Right.
We can't have a great conversation in which we're vulnerable to share
Right.
unless we have a safe container, and that's our
Absolutely.
confidentiality here.
All right, so our next one is that we will listen with open minds. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard that listening with an open mind is one of the greatest skills to be a great listener.
That's right.
I'd say I agree, because when you listen with an open mind, it means you're always willing to learn. There's something that you may not know, or there's a perspective that you may not know, and this is the perfect opportunity to hear somebody else out that's an expert in their experience and let them share with you and maybe pick up something, and it's reciprocal. Whatever you give out, maybe somebody's got something that you can pick up as well. So keep that in mind, that you may have an opinion one way or another about some of the topics that we talk about, but be willing to hear what other people have to say in this safe space.
That's a great point. Every conversation is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
At least we're here giving information exchanges,
Yes.
right? So listening with open minds when I facilitate and I lead with the terms of engagements, I like to add a little piece in that we're going to listen with open minds and open hearts.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we get used to hearing things and disregarding them, but if you walk into the situation unguarded with your heart open, you're allowing people's words, people's phrases, people's sentiment and vibrations to pierce your heart, and you can feel them. You can understand them a little deeper than just listening to hear. All right. So last but not least is that of our terms of engagement is that we will respect others' opinion, even when it disagrees with ours.
Yes.
But I have a little twist on that one. I like to say that we will respect others' opinion, especially when it disagrees with ours. In this situation, in this conversation, we're not preaching to the choir.
Right.
We're not talking just to be heard or just because we like our voices, the way they sound. We are making sure that if two people, two sides, anybody disagree, that we can simply get to the bottom of it with a conversation. We can simply use our words and our brains to exchange information, not beat somebody or win
You're
a
wrong,
debate.
I'm right.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
not a right or wrong answer. We're simply sharing with each other.
So we can share and converse again this week.
That's right.
We enjoyed it so much on Tuesday. We can't wait to dive into today and hear what you all have to say.
Welcome back, my friend.
Yes.
Today, in the conversation, we're going to have to piggyback on our last conversation in which we talked about belongingness. One of my favorite topics in the world.
Such a good topic.
That's right. So we had a short conversation about belongingness. We talked about how it feels to belong.
Yeah.
We also talked about what we need to feel belong.
Exactly.
Right?
And why it's important.
Why it's important.
Yeah.
Why we even go to belong to each other
Absolutely.
at the end of the day anyway.
But before we get into otherness, we have got some things to go over to keep this as the safe and wonderful space that it is.
That's right.
On Tuesday, you guys heard us talk about our terms of engagement. That's just how we operate and how we're going to operate in this space. But today, we're going to go over our assumptions. These are assumptions that we as individuals have, that we at One Step have, and that you may have in your own home or your own organization. We want to go over these to kind of clear the air.
That's
Let's
right.
acknowledge that they all exist, and then let's move forward and share this awesome information.
That's right. Just like our terms of engagement before in our previous video, we like to start this video with some positive assumptions
Yes.
that will help us kind of process and break down this information that we're going to talk about
Absolutely.
today. Our first positive assumption is simply that each of us has a role for improving our work.
And in this context, even your life.
That's right. I like the life part
Yeah,
better.
it incorporates
'Cause if you're improving
everything.
your life, you're definitely going to be better at work.
Absolutely.
So, if you have a role for improving your life, what does that mean to you?
I think that is only you can change your immediate surroundings. You can't affect what somebody else has to think or say about a situation. You can only affect you. It's why the curriculum starts with changing me. I can only change me, which is hard enough as it is. I can't change you until I figured out how to change me. So if you believe that you have a role in improving your life, which therefore improves your family, your work, etc., then that's a positive assumption to have. And it's a healthy assumption to have. And I think it's a safe assumption to have as well.
Absolutely. The great people over at One Step at a Time have a slogan, and that slogan is changing me, changing you, changing us. Okay, and just like Avi said, it basically means to make any change, you first have to understand that you are responsible for yourself.
Yes.
And only you know your thoughts, your mind, your heart, and your limitations. So you have to change you before you can affect change anywhere else in this world. I really like that.
And kind of going along in the same vein, our next assumption is that each of us is doing our best to fulfill our roles. So
can I take that one?
Yeah, go for it.
This one really
inspires me. This one's one of your favorite. I know you love this one.
I like this one, right? The thing about this is that if I get up and I wake up and put my pants on every one leg at a time, I have to consider that other people do that way as well. If I have a problem with my children, if they're acting up, or I have a bad day at work, or I get stuck in traffic, anything that could happen to me, I have to understand
Can happen to anybody.
can happen to anybody. And if that's true, then that means that everybody that we interact with on a daily basis is subject to having a bad day, just like we're subject to having a great day. So if you're interacting with somebody and they might be having a bad day, or they're coming off rude, or they're coming off disgruntled, or anything, you can just give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what?
Maybe they're not having their best day.
That's right. Maybe. Matter of fact, I'm going to be the light in this situation
and help
for this
change
person.
their day.
I'm going to ask them, how you doing? How you feeling? What's going on?
What can we do to help?
That's how we can start to affect change with that change in me. It's that simple perspective shift, right? Instead of this person doing something to you, that person could have been the victim of somebody doing something.
Absolutely.
I really like that. Thank
I
you
love
for
that
letting
one.
me
I love
take
that one.
one.
All right, hit us with the third one.
Okay, our third assumption is simply this: systemic inequities are real.
Now, honestly, we could just drop that right there, and I'm
Mic
pretty
drop.
sure
I was ready to
everybody
drop
has got that one. We know the world we live in, we know the organizations we work in, and it is safe to assume that inequities, right, exactly, that inequities in these systems, they're real, they exist. They're not a figment of our imagination.
Right.
And we have to find a way to navigate them and deal with them. So assuming it straight out the gate clears the air.
That's right. We're going to get this one done before we even start talking.
Done.
Systemic inequities are real.
There you go.
The fact that systems are existing
means that there's
that
inequities. Exactly.
Okay, so we're not going to even mince words. You give me the next one.
Next up, this is only one discussion, and we cannot impact closure today or tomorrow. We know we see you guys at least twice a week, hopefully more because you're interacting with our other posts.
Tours.
But we can only have this one conversation right now.
That's right.
And for as many viewers as watching, we can't create closure for you within this short window of time that we get to spend with you all. So developing and adding to these conversations will eventually lead to closure. But right now, let's just have this conversation and be in the moment, and let's feel what it feels to be here. And we'll think about closure as it comes.
I like that too.
Yeah.
And I really think it makes you change your perspective from looking to complete something, looking to win something, to just being content hashing out the details.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what we're talking about. We're just having a discussion. This is simply a conversation.
Yeah.
This conversation is meant to change the world.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean it can change the world today or tomorrow. We're going to continue to talk, and you continue to come back to us.
Of course, so we can keep having this conversation.
That's right. You come back to us. Now, this one, I have to tweak a little bit for the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
We're engaging on a guided conversation.
Yeah.
And that's different from training.
Of course.
We ain't training you to do nothing.
No.
We ain't teaching you to do nothing.
No.
We're just sharing our perspective. And from our perspective, we hope we can gain some information from you.
Yes.
If you share your perspective, then we did what? We just cross-pollinated.
Oh my God, isn't that what we just talked about on Tuesday?
That's right.
That two-way street. See how everything just ties back in together? That's what we love about this work, is that it builds on each other. The further and the longer that we have these conversations, you guys are going to be in the comments like, oh my God, do y'all remember back to the very first video when we were talking about belonging and otherness? This is so relevant, and it's going to continue to be relevant because of the world we live in today.